And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get straight to the point and tell you what this reality is, break it down for you, and explain why it can completely change the relationship between you and that person. I have to understand one thing, which sounds very paradoxical, but it is so. To win, first of all, I have to be willing to lose. To win the heart of that person, so to speak, I have to be willing to lose that person. Because the problem today is there is a power conflict here. Romantic relationships can very quickly also be viewed in terms of power relationships. When they are not reciprocated, when we are not on equal footing, we enter a territory where they become a power game, sometimes more or less savored by one of the parties, enjoyed by one of the parties, or simply not being aware of what unites us, what we represent, but rather abusing that a little. The problem is that as long as you are not willing to give up that person, to lose them, all the power is in their hands. And having all the power is one of the biggest problems when it comes to unbalancing the relationship. And as long as it is unbalanced, there is no chance that this person will take you seriously, that this person will invest emotionally in you. And we invest emotionally in someone whom we at least see as an equal or consider superior. If not, we do not invest emotionally. We can have something physical, and more so men than women. A woman really needs to respect her intimate partner, whereas a man does not necessarily have to. It's enough for there to be attraction or accessibility and a lack of options. With that, a man can already broaden his range significantly. But from there to investing emotionally, there's a step. For us to invest emotionally in someone, to get involved, we have to see this person as an equal or as someone superior. The problem is that without having the person, you have a terrible fear of losing them, which absolutely conditions all your actions and gives them all the power. And this person who, on the other hand, does have you and should fear losing you is evidently quite calm. And as I say, in many cases, this situation leads to even people who are not inherently bad. When they become intoxicated with power, they start to act in a way that leaves much to be desired, honestly. Because it often happens, right? People who don't behave like that with others, when they experience having that control over us, not like any minimal action on their part has. An influence over us, how we are willing to swallow our pride many times. That is to say, no matter what this person does, they come back to seek me out. This inflates the ego, and it's hard to maintain the ego. This is like those people who say, if I had a lot of fame or a lot of money, I'm sure it wouldn't go to my head. And then they have a lot of fame and a lot of money, and it goes to their head. They can't help it. Suddenly receiving that admiration from people, they change their lifestyle, and at a given moment, they go from being a much more haughty person, looking down on others. Why? They thought it wouldn't happen, but it does. Well, the same thing happens when a person receives excessive attention, realizes that we are chasing after them, that even if they snub us, we still stick around, that we don't get angry when we should, that time passes and we try again. All those things. Noticing how that person has real power, because in the end it's real power over us, makes them intoxicated. And people intoxicated with power start to act in a rather despicable way. A very clear example of this dynamic would be, for instance, an established breakup. That is to say, it's not necessary for us to have been a couple. This is constantly seen in relationships that quickly start with an imbalance, like friends with benefits, people who are giving us low investment maintenance, and we have fully fallen for it, believing we were building something and have become attached. Perhaps this person was talking to 35 others while we were only talking to them. That is to say, there doesn't need to be a couple, but an example that illustrates this well is when there has been a relationship between two people who felt equal, who had respect for each other, who treated each other with a lot of consideration, empathy, and affection. One person ends it, the other takes time to get over it, is reluctant, and perhaps tries to do what they think is right to win them back and goes after them. Maybe not at first, but if this drags on for a little while, soon that will happen. We will move from a relationship of respect and affection to a power dynamic where the person who no longer wants it, who is no longer interested, starts to feel overwhelmed and will probably begin at some point to treat the other person poorly. And you might say, well, Amanda, they have the right to set a boundary. Yes, but I'm not talking about that. A boundary would be, hey, look, I realize you're not over it. You need your time. I'm going to block you from everywhere because I think it's better that we revive the community. I'm talking about those partners who start dropping nasty things on you or start using you selfishly to the extent that they want. Today I want to meet up because I'm lonelier than ever, because my new fling has ditched me. And I call you and spend Sunday with you because I want affection and company. And then for 2 weeks, I don't reply to your messages because the new fling has reached out, treating a person poorly whom we once treated equally because they are intoxicated with power. And all of this stems from the same thing, our reluctance to be willing to lose this person. Well, make it very clear to yourself that to win, you have to be willing to let go. Why? Because you need to break that imbalance. That within you, because all of this also arises, we need to become aware that our internal dialogue and our own beliefs are very powerful and will play a very important role in the outcome of events. And until we are willing to see this, we live somewhat blind. That is to say, as long as I am truly convinced that I cannot give up the person, that I cannot, as long as I am also convinced that the power is in the hands of this person, because I perceive this, that is to say, this is real, I perceive it, and that other person perceives it too. As long as I have that idea within me, I turn it into a reality. So the first place where I need to address this at its root is within myself and my own beliefs. Therefore, the very first thing to change this idea is to accept where I truly am. And that involves accepting the painful idea that I try to avoid facing at all costs. And that is, as of today, I do not have that person. I don't have them. I mean, obviously on an emotional level, what I want from this person. Because I don't want crumbs from this person. I don't want minimal contact. I don't want to be pseudo in touch. I don't want to get my hopes up for nothing. What I want is to have from this person a feeling. That is, I want this person to emotionally want to invest in me. And I don't have that. Because if I had it, having the feelings I have, this person and I would be together. So this is indisputable. And I have to stop clinging to the 100,000 excuses and comforting thoughts that lead me to debate this and to believe something that isn't true. I have to accept, as painful as it may be, that I don't have this person, but beyond being painful, this is liberating in terms of how I proceed. Why? Because if I accept that I can't lose this person because I don't have them, whereas this person can lose me because I am emotionally attached, who is free here to act? Who has much more room to maneuver when it comes to proceeding? That person or us? Us. That is to say, we have chains that aren't real. We act like, oh, I don't want to do this because I might lose them. You don't have them. Act freely. Allow yourself. Allow yourself the luxury of getting angry. Allow yourself the luxury of distancing yourself. Allow yourself the luxury of showing that you'll be fine with someone else. Don't act believing that your actions might upset the person, but start acting by giving free rein to what truly comes from within you. Because often the problem isn't in who we are, in how we think. That's not what doesn't attract the person. In fact, our true essence might actually be very attractive to the person. We might awaken their interest, and indeed we can make them invest emotionally in us. But if I act in a way from fear, that is, before saying what I think, I keep quiet. Before acting as I would act, I always go around with that, a little point on my lips. No, I don't do this, I don't want to show this, I don't want that. I don't act true to myself. I'm not true to myself. I'm betraying what I think and believe because I'm afraid that what I think, believe, or the way I act will displease you. And I accept an unfair deal and settle for my little scraps, and I'm there in waiting mode and I'm setting aside. Stop doing all that. Truly understand that no one is attending to you because you don't have the person. and act with that freedom. Understand I'm not risking it. So if this is not going to work out, let it not be by being myself. At least let it not end up not being, because in the power game, I have mistakenly believed that I had nothing to do. All the power is yours. I have let you get intoxicated. I have started to act in a strange way, and that's how it's going. Be yourself. Go back to being you. That is, face the issue head on. Act as you feel. Tell this person what you need to say to them. Make yourself respected. And truly understand that just because you're doing everything just to not upset her isn't going to get you where you want to go. It'll lead you. That's why many times when we consider it lost and start treating the person like that, meaning we no longer treat them as that priority in our life, with that care, with that attention, with that measuring every word, just in case. In other words, speaking bluntly, we stop being so uptight. We stop believing that we have to. We stop trying to impress her, right? Because ultimately we feel that we've lost her, that there's nothing more we can do. And suddenly, hey, people start treating us better. And it's like, oh my gosh, why? Why is she treating me better now? Well, because you're no longer overwhelming that person, and because when you're willing to lose someone, you regain the chance to win them back and you become more authentic again. You have to be yourself, no matter what happens. As I said before, if you're not going to be with someone, at least let them reject the real you, not a fearful version of yourself. I encounter this so often. People who change so much, who change from the person that this person initially met to their overall demeanor. They are people who might be attractive, confident, lively, and charming. They are people worthy of respect. And then in their interactions with this person, all of that is glaringly absent. You read the conversations and it hurts your eyes. It's like, oh, but why? Why that comment again? Why that note? It's that we can convey that we're drooling over someone. We can convey that we're at someone's feet and we think we're not. We don't see it. We don't see it. It's like, oh, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. Really, don't do it. Realize it. You don't have the person. No. Your biggest fear, that fear that ties you to not acting in an attractive way, is a reality. The sooner you accept it and understand that it's okay, but from now on you're going to do what your gut tells you, not what your cowardly mind tells you afterward. That is to say, this person acts in a certain way, and what your stomach tells you is, well, I today wouldn't respond to them or would give them this or that answer. And then that comes from your gut, from your temperament, from who you really are. And now your cowardly mind goes, no, just in case. What if? No, better I say something softer. I'm going to look for her. I'm going to look for her even if she doesn't deserve it. Because if I don't look for her, because if I don't know what, so stop listening to your cowardly mind and start listening a bit more to your gut, to your temperament, to who you are, and act that way. Act that way. Because also, I repeat, it is that person who has something to lose, because today you are indeed very emotionally invested in that person. But of course, since you're showing a somewhat strange version of yourself, this person doesn't have the concept they should have of the situation. Lose the fear of losing someone you don't have. Start acting like who you really are, and who knows, because you might be surprised that in many cases it can be the key you've been looking for to win. And if not, at least you will start to feel proud of yourself and the situation again, which, believe me, we often underestimate, but it is so important. I meet people who deep down are not doing badly, because this person is not reciprocating their feelings. That might be about 20% of their discomfort. Their great discomfort arises from the level of discontent they have reached with themselves. They are so disappointed in their behavior. Deep down, it bothers them so much to have made themselves so small. They feel so little pride in how they are acting, in the vision they have of themselves, that it causes them a lot of discomfort. But they believe, no. What happens to me is that this person doesn't value me, doesn't love me, and that's why I feel bad. No. You feel terrible because you are not able to value or love yourself due to the way you are acting. Start acting in a way that makes you feel proud of yourself, and you will realize how much of that sorrow and discomfort will disappear. I guarantee it, truly. Well, I hope this video helps you, that you liked it. If so, you are not yet subscribed to my channel. Of course, I invite you to do so, to hit the bell, because I would love for us to see each other again very soon. And until then, as always, I send you a big kiss.